Hello. I look like I'm in heaven right now because the window's behind me, but I'm charging my laptop. And I don't feel like moving. This is where we are today. I also had to put a hat on because I fell asleep with my hair wet and it's a mess. It's a real mess. But anyway, again, very impromptu. Not planning on doing one of these today, but I was just thinking about some things that are interesting to me, and I just made a couple connections, and I just want to share what those thoughts are. Yeah, I'm gonna try to just I need to slow down. I talk so fast I run out of breath. Which is also just I'm getting a little bit sick again. So I'm really trying to take it easy. Um I just got over I feel like I lost the entire month of April to the void because I just got really sick in a way that I have not been ill in a very long time. I think I've said on here before the flare up of this like weird autoimmune thing that I have. Uh, this time was the worst it's been since the very first time it happened, which was a big deal. So anyway, I'm just trying to take it easy and like rest my voice. We went to the Renaissance Fair on Sunday, which is my favorite, but we also went with like a bigger group and with people who are not always like it's not as much their thing, which is great and it's fun and it's you go with different people, and you get different experiences of the Ren Fair. And it was also just, I really enjoyed watching people that I knew in other facets of life interact with like the world of Ren Fair because that's my favorite. And uh, I love when people are just like so much themselves. And I have some friends who are like cartoon characters. So seeing them interact with Ren Fair and with enthusiasm as well was like really great. But it was hot. I was wearing a corset. Um, and I just get really anxious and overwhelmed. And Ren Fair is like very overwhelming and overstimulating with like a crowd, but usually I can kind of get myself into a headspace where I can just have a lot of fun and it's just hyper focused on like little things. But when you have all these people that you go with a bigger group, it's harder to like, I couldn't get in my normal Ren Fair headspace that I enjoy, if that makes any sense. I was more focused on like making sure everybody was having fun and keeping track of everybody. And I didn't like that as much. But again, that's just me being like anxious and like worried about other people having a good time and feeling like I need to be personally responsible for that. So anyway, and yeah, it was just a long day. My voice is gone, because that's the other thing too. Like again, working in the service industry and it being a more physical job, I have to take better care of my body, my voice, trying to make sure I get enough sleep, stretching, like so it's nice. Like I like being more in my body and I love working with my hands at work, but it just takes a little bit of extra effort to make sure I'm good and don't get sick again. So anyway, we're working on it. But the thing that I was thinking about this morning is I was scrolling through some videos and I have a bunch of different little group chats on Instagram. I'm addicted to Instagram. I'm working on it. But anyway, I was scrolling through some group chats and I had sent this cool video to some friends who are like also like artsy fartsy weirdos like I am. And the thing that keeps coming up right now that people really like is using worse quality video, like lo-fi video, as a means of aesthetic and adding to the aesthetic look of something. And that's something that I really love. I've been getting into like some dark, like Southern Gothic type of vibes, like dark Americana vibes, because, I live in the South and I live in America, obviously, like I said. And I think especially right now, and with late stage capitalism, everything's so fucking ugly. And you go to Europe, and Europe has, or Asia, or other parts of the world, and obviously everywhere has their own problems right now. But one of the things that I was always very envious of going to, like Europe, for example, is how beautiful the architecture is, and the city streets, and everything's not so car centric there. And so that's been like frustrating of just like there's like a whole section of one of my favorite books, Beautiful World, Where Are You? Like a 2 or 3 page like kind of quasi essay where one of the characters is talking about how she hates so much that late stage capitalism has made everything so ugly and strip the color out of everything, and like, and mind you, these are Irish characters written by an Irish author. So there's my thing about Europe out the window. But again, we tend to romanticize the things we don't know, right? Anyway, sorry, that was a lot. But so anyway, I talking about, well, calm down, Americana, and uh, trying to like, I've always had this, I don't want to say always, but when I was in school, in university, I took a really cool course that was about the grotesque. And I wish I remembered, like, I wish I had the syllabus. I wish I remembered, like, more detail about what that class was, because, God, it was probably almost 10 years ago now. But it was this really cool professor, and he basically, he's actually since passed away, which has made me very sad to know. Um, he was so cool, but it was this whole class about the grotesque, and we talked about freak shows and circuses, and we talked about actually like transness. And I know that that sounds like associating being trans with the grotesque, I think, in that scenario, again, because we kind of morph, the language changes over time, but it, if you're talking about a more traditional sense of the word grotesque, it doesn't necessarily mean like gross and like abhorrent in the same way that we kind of use it now. It more so, I think, just evokes like something that is outside the norm, something that's weird and bizarre. And again, not weird is a bad thing, weird is in like different. And it's the kind of thing that we have a fascination with. And there's kind of a spin on it too, of like something that's sort of taboo or gross or whatever. And again, I'm not referring to trans people as being weird or gross at all, but in the context of patriarchy and in the context of the, social and political, even, and just like interpersonal beauty standards and the social structures in which we interact, like transness is weird, right? Like, so anyway, but all of that to say, I've been really into the grotesque of like things that are both beautiful and kind of gross, like gross out art is kind of the, like, I've been finding these artists again on Instagram. This is how they've gotten me locked back in, uh, who are like making paintings with mold and doing like weird art with like metal and teeth, like in people's actual mouths. And like, I don't know, I've just been into like kind of the weird, like kind of gross stuff. And if you've played Disco Elysium, like I keep talking about, some of the art is really grotesque and like interesting and cool, like the thought cabinet art, for example. Anyway, I went down this whole rabbit hole just talking about how I've been into more Americana. So I want to combine Americana with like the grotesque, because I think one of the fun things about being obsessed with grotesque is like you can find beauty in ugliness and things that people usually scoff at and say are gross and weird. And so I kind of want to look at like the modern American lens of like literally the environments around me that people think are ugly. I find beauty in them. And so anyway, that's just something I've been thinking about a lot. But so just thinking about like who I am as an artist and what concepts and images are interesting to me, that's been in my world right now. But all of that to say, I think lo-fi video and, photography using cameras. And again, I don't know that much about cameras and photography or videography, but the sense of using things that are lower resolution and all of that, like actually adding to the aesthetic look of something. And I think the fact that I use my laptop camera is like kind of part of my thing here, because I am just kind of like spur of the moment, off the cuff, unedited. Like, I'm not thinking too hard about it. What have you. Here's Deku. Hey, buddy. Ugh, I've been gone a lot, so I've been so busy. So the cats are very excited that I've been back, like I talked about the other day. Anyway, so yeah, just with the lo-fi stuff, with like grainier footage and worse sound quality, I've been seeing that everywhere. And we've seen it with the rise of, I mean, all kinds of lo-fi tech has been on the rise, like flip phones, old MP3 players and iPods, um, and I feel like I know a lot of people who have little digital cameras now. And we actually prefer that, right? Because We don't have to look at our phones. We don't have to worry about notifications or updates or being connected to the internet or subscriptions or any number of other things that are annoying about modern technology. Because it feels like such a ringer. It's not just you turn something on and it works. You have to like go through all of these steps. This is just something that's annoyed me about modern technology for a long time. Is like just how difficult it is to use now. I talk a lot about, oh, there's a great example that I always use of like if you go into a modern Call of Duty game or like Fortnite, I feel like those menus, that UI is designed to be intentionally confusing. And there's like, not intentionally, but like, there's just so much information. There's like all the battle pass stuff, there's all your cosmetics. You have to like, it's a game in and of itself, just figuring out how to navigate the menus. Whereas if you look at like old school game menus from multiplayer games, it was like single player, multiplayer settings, just like a single list, and that was it. And games have become much more complicated to make and to play, and the aesthetics have changed a lot, and it's evolved like anything else. But as video games have kind of reached this point of um, just they are growing as a medium historically in a moment where late stage capitalism is like really rearing its head. And so I really need to do more research about like the film industry and like how the novel developed over time. This is kind of what my undergrad thesis was touching on. It's super interesting to me, like the historical moment we're in with art and how it's continuing to develop, but especially games, because like games are still so young compared to other media. Again, undergrad thesis. Um, and so I just feel like at least in the big like AAA, like the stuff that's kind of mainstream, we've really stagnated. And I this is kind of what I was talking about, why seeing lo-fi stuff come up again and be trendy and cool again to me is fascinating, because for a long fucking time, for as long as I can remember, I was always so frustrated by this like arms race for photorealism in games, specifically. And it just feels like for so long it was this obsession with being able to see every pore on every character's face, and simulating the hair more realistically and doing all these things. And to me, it kind of reminds me of the reason why I hate like big loud cars. Okay? Like to me it feels like it's so literal. It's just in your face. Here, look how cool I am. I have the biggest loudest one. You can't ignore it. It's so big. Like, okay? Oh, I bet you think that woman with an hourglass figure is sexy too. Like, it's too literal. That's not to say that you can't like those things. It's just they're not that appealing to me. So anyway, I don't know. When it came to video games, people being like, "Oh, look how realistic it looks." It's like, okay, I don't know, I thought a big part of why we liked games is the escapism of it. And the other thing too, again, is games are an audiovisual medium, and being able to use the way something looks specifically and to curate that towards a sort of larger idea artistically is really cool. Mind you, a lot of these games that I'm railing on, I guess some of them didn't posit themselves as art. Many of them did. So that's, I think, why I found it frustrating. But anyway, so I feel like too in the games industry, because AAA games have kind of stagnated so much and are not taking risks and trying new things, and we're seeing all of the really awesome stuff come out of the indie scene. You're being so cute and sweet right now. I love you. It's, we're seeing different art styles, and lo-fi be a really big deal. And I think something like Undertale, which is from quite a few years ago now. When did that game come out? Like 2012? That's my best guess. I could be totally off. But anyway, like I think Undertale is such a great example of so many different things about game design and art in general. And I haven't even finished a playthrough of it. I just know about it and kind of its legacy. And I obviously need to do more research and just fucking finish it and all such things. I bounce off of some of the gameplay mechanics really hard. Like bullet hell is not my thing. Anyway, but the point is, like, that's a game that the art is so far away from being anywhere near photorealistic, and yet it has been ingrained in the canon of video games forever. It's been enshrined as a classic because guess what? Its art is really cool and endearing and like has something to say about the fact that it looks the way it does. And that's great. And like, you know, you see, I saw a post last night of like, if you think your art isn't good enough, like who fucking cares? Or whatever. That was the sentiment. This is not me paraphrasing, but it was a screenshot of Undertale, and there's like a scene in a bedroom, and someone had drawn a bunch of lines for the perspective. It was all fucked. Like it was not even a little bit technically where it needed to be, but it didn't matter because it gets the effect done. So anyway, I'm just really hoping that okay, yeah. So there was a larger point that I was getting back to with this sort of. I'm going to use the word regression. I don't mean that in the sense of like we're literally regressing. I think in a lot of ways art is continuing to progress forward, but this idea of more technologically advanced, more sophisticated with the technology means better, means inherently better. That is again the sentiment that I think is very distilled in the games and had been distilled in the games industry for a long time of more photorealism equals better, right? And that was a selling point for games for at least 20 years, if not more. I mean, that was kind of things were always getting more and more like realistic in games. And then we kind of reached this point where it was like, you can't make it look any more realistic. Now what do we do? And I feel like that's kind of the point we're at with capitalism, right? We've hit the late stage. Like, oh, it doesn't get more like more innovation, more technological, and with the tech industry too, like it doesn't beget better results at all. Technology doesn't feel exciting anymore. It doesn't feel cool and cutting edge and like we're moving towards the future. It feels like we're in the dark ages right now. And that's not a sentiment that I'm alone in feeling, you know? So I have been preaching a lot. I'm preaching right now, can you tell? But I've been preaching a lot about solarpunk and how much I love solarpunk. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's amazing. But it's this sci-fi concept that essentially imagines a future where technology and nature can kind of live in balance and harmony. And that's like the elevator pitch of that. The well goes a lot deeper of what that not only aesthetic, but like its sort of philosophy is. But essentially, I'm like, we need a cultural shift towards this idea of it's we're seeing the seedlings of it, and I it's so exciting to me, of like, oh, I'm just gonna use the things that I need, and I don't need any more than that. And you know, I have okay, I'll get an MP3 player, and it's just the songs I need. And I'll get a camera, and it's just the functionality that I need of like, I don't need all these other settings and like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but imagining a world where we only use technology to the extent that it is actually helpful to us and makes the human experience better. That's something that I really want to strive towards, and I want other people to get on board with. And it's the same thing with consumerism, also because our technology and consumerism have been so inextricably linked. Of like, oh, I need this next thing, I need the new iPhone, I need whatever. Keep your phone. Does it work? Does it do the things that you need? Does it call people? Does it text people? Can you access your emails? Can you use your GPS? Can you do, you know, whatever? Great. You don't need another fucking cell phone. You don't. You don't need a new laptop. You don't. And it's, you know, a lifetime of these companies developing these systems to advertise to us as effectively as they possibly can. I've spent some more money recently. I know how good it feels to be a consumer. We all do. It's this the value system that we were brought up in under capitalism. But I think being able to detach yourself from it is the most freeing. And again, it's not like I've achieved nirvana in that sense in any regard, but just trying to step away from I need this thing, or I need to be more beautiful, I need to be smarter, I need to be more successful. Again, these are all under capitalism. And I can talk about why at a later time because there's so much ground to cover there. But again, I've talked about the sense of optimization, the sense of needing to be the absolute best at everything you do, because then there's a sort of monetary incentive there. Because if you're the best at something, you can monetize that. You can get your hustle, your side hustle, you can do whatever. We need to detach ourselves from that and decouple it. And I revisited Wild Geese recently, the Mary Oliver poem. I just came across a video of a girl reading it, and it's one of those things that I remember as like, oh, this is one of the best poems of all time. It got me into Mary Oliver, whose philosophy and whose work is like very influential and important to me and just special to me. And just that you do not have to be good. You do not have to like crawl on your knees for 40 years in the desert repenting. I probably got it wrong. I need to memorize the whole thing. But anyway, just that sentiment of like, just stop, just slow down, just exist, try and enjoy your life. Like, you know, I'll go on one more rabbit hole and then I think I'll be done with this video. But I was talking to a patron at the bar the other night who was one of the guys, he was the singer from the band that we had playing. So cool. Such a great energy, such a great conversation that we had. But I was just talking about my relationship to craft, my artistic, craft as a writer. And it's not a conversation that you get to have a lot. Like that internal world, that relationship to myself as an artist is one of the most exciting, fulfilling parts of my entire life. And I don't get to really share it with a lot of people very often, So anyway, I was just talking to this really cool guy, and we were just talking about art, and I was like, yeah, honestly, like my biggest struggle my entire life as someone who is a writer has been detaching myself from this need of like, well, I have to win a Pulitzer. I have to write the next great American novel. And if I don't, then I'm not worth anything. And just trying to remember what art is. And it's a process. It's a knowing of the self. It's an expression of your unique human experience. And the fact that we've commodified that and turned that into, a product to be bought and sold, I think is so horrible and so gross. So anyway, I'm just trying to heed my own advice and see art and the way that I engage with everything just as like, just slow down. You're fine. You get to just exist, and you get to spend your time doing the things you love. Like, it's okay. So anyway, that was so stream of consciousness. I hope some of that made sense. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna keep trying to like rest and take care of myself. Deku's just here. Go boy. He's just hanging out with me. You're so cute. But anyway, so yeah, I have so many other things I want to talk about and express, and I will do that soon, but I gotta go for now. So anyway, hope you have a great whatever time of day it is for you, and keep being kind to yourself and engaging with great art and create. The world needs us to create shit right now. So anyway, I gotta go. Okay, bye.